Here are your random selections. Relationship type. Friend, creative, collaborator, betrayal type. Exploitation of kindness, resources, theft, fraud, social humiliation, thematic flavor, internal. Revenge through exposure, public settings. Design conference, sleek law office, industry awards gala. The spotlight caught the edge of his teeth as he smiled. A perfect, predatory white. He was on stage at the Future Form conference, accepting an award for our project. For my project. Of course, I have to thank my former partner, Zara, for all her hard work, he said into the microphone, his voice dripping with false sincerity. Mostly fetching coffee and keeping the server from crashing. We all have our roles to play. The audience, a sea of black-clad architects and designers, offered a polite, unknowing laugh. The glare from the stage light seemed to freeze the moment, bleaching all the color from the world. I felt nothing. No anger, no tears, just a profound, crystalline calm. My seat in the back row, I sent him a single text. He has no idea what's coming. I met Xavier at a university mixer 10 years ago. He was the classic napkin sketcher, all wild hair and grand pronouncements, drawing impossible, beautiful buildings that defied physics. I was the quiet one who leaned over his shoulder, and with a few precise lines from my own pen, showed him how to make them stand. He had the vision, I had the structure. It felt like a perfect partnership. Best memory was the night we finalized the concept for the EcoPod, our sustainable modular housing unit. We were in our tiny rented studio, surrounded by takeout containers from Thai Fusion, the screen of the shared Wacom tablet glowing between us. We worked until 3 a.m., passing the stylus back and forth, his broad strokes and my meticulous details merging into something whole, something brilliant. That night felt like magic. The first red flag came a year later. We landed our first small client, a boutique hotel. During the final presentation, Xavier used the word I 15 times. He only mentioned my name when the client asked who'd be handling the structural CAD files. I told myself it was fine. He was the face of the operation. I was the engine. Every partnership has a division of labor. I was just playing my role. The next 2 years were a blur of success. We secured a grant from the Kellerman Foundation. We were featured in a 2-page spread in Design Weekly. Days were a comfortable rhythm. Morning coffee at a minimalist cafe called Slate. Long hours at the studio, him taking investors to expensive dinners, me refining the blueprints and running simulations until my eyes burned. He handled the press, I handled the work. I rationalized the imbalance. He was building our brand, I told myself. It was a necessary sacrifice. The small betrayals started to stack up. He used the company account to lease a Porsche. For client meetings, he'd say. Forget to add my name to press releases. A clerical error, he'd promise, his eyes wide with apology. I let it slide. The EcoPod was too important, and I believed in what we were building more than I distrusted him. The change came on a Tuesday night in April. I was working late, archiving old files, when I saw his laptop was still open on his desk. An email notification popped up on the screen, a single-line preview visible. From Vance IP Law. Subject, EcoPod sole proprietorship. My blood went cold. For the next 3 weeks, I became a forensic accountant. I didn't need to hack anything. As a co-founder, I had access. I meticulously combed through our shared server logs, our cloud storage revision histories, and the last 2 years of our financial records. I discovered he had secretly registered a new LLC, Xavier Innovations. He had been siphoning funds from our joint account into it, small amounts at first, then larger ones. The total came to $87,450. He was building a legal fortress to steal our creation from under me, brick by digital brick. Each transaction number, each file timestamp, was another layer of his deceit. The breaking point was the Future Form conference. He told me he'd secured us a keynote spot, our biggest break yet. I spent 100 hours preparing the presentation, perfecting every render, every animation. Day of the event, he told me to sit in the audience to get a better perspective and manage the live social media feed. Like an idiot, I agreed. Then I watched him walk on stage alone. My presentation, my renders, my work, filled the massive screen behind him. He spoke about his vision, his struggle, his genius. He never said my name. And then came the award and that cruel, dismissive line about fetching coffee. Some people are visionaries and some people are technicians, he added, puffing out his chest. It takes a true leader to know the difference and steer the ship. I am that leader. The world went silent. In that moment, watching him accept applause for my soul's work, the plan began to form. It wasn't born of rage, but of a quiet, chilling certainty. And as he clicked to his final slide, I saw it, a tiny detail he'd overlooked. The bottom right corner of my most complex render was a faint watermark for the LuxRender Pro software. A software license that was registered in my name and paid for, every year, by my personal American Express card. He hadn't just stolen my work, he'd left his fingerprints all over it. The next morning, I was in the glass-walled office of Ms. Vance, the same IP lawyer from his email. She was a shark in a tailored suit, with eyes that missed nothing. I laid out my evidence on her polished mahogany desk. She listened without interruption, her expression unreadable. This is not a partnership dispute, she said when I finished. This is surgical theft. The retainer is $15,000. I liquidated stocks I'd inherited from my grandmother to pay it. The next 6 months, Ms. Vance and her team worked in silence. We compiled a mountain of proof. Server logs with metadata showing I was the sole creator and modifier of 97% of the core design files. My credit card statements for the LuxRender license going back 4 years. Bank records showing the exact flow of funds from our joint account to Xavier Innovations. And 53 text messages from him with phrases like, "Can you work your magic on this sketch?" You're the only one who can figure out the load-bearing calcs. The ironic coincidence came from Dr. Peterson, our old university professor. Ms. Vance's investigator found him. He wrote a sworn affidavit stating that the EchoPod concept originated in his advanced architecture seminar, and that from the very beginning, I had been responsible for all technical and structural development. Final pieces were Xavier's own patent and trademark filings, which illegally used my copyrighted renders as their primary exhibits. We had him. Ms. Vance advised a quiet, devastating approach. We wouldn't just sue him. We would let him walk right into the execution. The trap was set for the Ether Awards, the industry's biggest gala. Xavier, riding high on the stolen glory of the Future Form Conference, was nominated for Innovator of the Year. Walked the red carpet, preening for the cameras. I was there too, invited as a guest of a rival firm. As he made his way toward the main ballroom, a man in a server's uniform politely handed him a thick manila envelope. Xavier looked at it, confused. He saw my name on the return address. He saw me approaching. "Xavier, we need to talk about your presentation," I said, my voice perfectly level. He laughed, a nervous, condescending sound. "Zara, this isn't the time or place." "Honestly, don't be so bitter. It's not a good look. I have the server logs," I said, not raising my voice. "The software license. The bank transfers totaling over $87,000. His smile faltered. His face began to pale under the warm ballroom lights. "And Dr. Peterson sends his regards," I added. His bravado evaporated. He looked around wildly as if searching for an escape route. The chatter of the crowd around us seemed to fade away. It was just him and me. "The patent you filed is void," I said, delivering the final blow. "You submitted stolen intellectual property as proof of concept. My work, my property." Nodded towards the entrance, where Ms. Vance was now speaking quietly but firmly with the event organizers, handing them her card. His face, once a mask of smug confidence, collapsed into pure, unadulterated panic. "You ruined me," he hissed, his voice a ragged whisper. I looked at him, at the man who had been my friend, my partner, and I felt the last flicker of a decade-long connection finally extinguish. No, I just turned on the lights. The fallout was immediate and spectacular. Within 24 hours, Ether Awards scandal was trending. The design blogs had a field day. The award was publicly rescinded. His investors, seeing the fraud, pulled their funding from Xavier Innovations overnight. The calls from his powerful friends stopped. The legal battle was brief. Faced with an avalanche of irrefutable evidence, he settled. Judgment was for full ownership of the EchoPod intellectual property to be transferred to me, plus damages of $115,740. He had to sell the Porsche and his downtown condo to pay it. A few months later, a former colleague sent me a photo they'd snapped on their phone. It was Xavier, working behind the counter at a Starbucks, his designer suit replaced by a stained green apron, the visionary now asking people if they wanted whipped cream. My life, in contrast, became quiet. I opened my own firm, Studio Z. I used the settlement to hire a small, brilliant team. We took the EchoPod, refined it, and a year later won our own Ether Award. This time I was the one on stage. The applause felt different. It felt earned. During a Q&A at my old university last month, a student asked for my advice on creative partnerships. I paused, then looked out at the young, hopeful faces. "Vision is important," I said, "but vision without execution is just a daydream. We all have our roles to play. Make sure you get credit for yours." The peace I felt in that moment was better than any revenge.